I was nervous just with where we are with the whole gender norms thing. I mean, I still do a lot of like playing with that whole, you know, sort of the traditional man woman stuff. I do a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff about it, which is now like just becoming kind of dated. But this song, I was like, you know what? This really does seem to be one of those things that applies to my experience with where the guys are at and where the girls are at in general on this.
I knew just what I was getting into, knocking on the door of your hotel room with nothing but a jacket and some fuck me shoes. I knew it was on. I heard you say, ah, ooh, ga, ga. I knew you were gonna tear your way into me like a present on Christmas Day. I know all about the consequences.
Welcome to the Marinade, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. Each episode, we welcome musicians, actors, comedians, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, anyone who creates art to talk about how and why we make stuff. This is episode 189, and our guest is Caitlin Cannon. Caitlin is a powerhouse singer, songwriter, actor, comedian. She does a little bit of everything, and her new record, Love Addict, is chock full of bangers that grab me on the very first listen. It's got country with some psychedelica in it. It's a sonic and lyrical journey that pushes the envelope. This was such a delight, y'all. On some episodes, you really connect with the guest. I feel like this is one of those episodes. And everyone, it is my honor to bring you my conversation with Caitlin Cannon.
Wow.
Anyway, thank you for doing this. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to talking to
And you're probably insane or a murderer.
Special mistake.
Yeah. Well, what you've made is incredible. I've been like, I can't remember when exactly the CD showed up, but you sent me a CD, and it's been in my car CD player pretty much since then. And I absolutely loved it from the first listen, and have continued to love it. And then today, I'm just having one of the, like, I'm in my feelings today, for like, I just woke up in that place, and I listened to the record again one time through, and I was like, it was just, you had me in tears at moments today. So just starting off, just an incredible record, and I'm really excited for folks to hear it, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, Jason. That you made my day. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. And, I think, music, art in general, of course, helps us to feel less alone and helps us to like process things. And I don't know why this song, and I guess somewhat coincidentally, You're Losing Me is released as a single today, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Yeah.
and that particular song, I enjoyed it from on the first listen, but then today it really hit me. And I was reading the press release about how you were talking about how like we as men tend to feel like we're blindsided when a relationship ends, and as soon as my 10-year relationship ended, the women in my life were like, yeah, I mean, guys typically say that. Like, that's pretty common that you guys don't see it coming. And I just wonder if you can talk about that particular song, because it was helping me process, like, I was the guy that was blindsided, and my ex was checked out for like years, and I had no idea. Right. And so I'm interested in that conversation, and then like how that song came about.
I was nervous just with where we are with the whole gender norms thing. I mean, I still do a lot of like playing with that whole, you know, sort of the traditional man woman stuff. I do a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff about it. which is now like just becoming kind of dated. But this song, I was like, you know what? This really does seem to be one of those things that applies to my experience with where the guys are at and where the girls are at in general on this. It was actually one of my exes who said his mother told him. He was like, just so you know, she's going to be out of the relationship about 3 months before you are. You know, like things are ending for her. And I guess it kind of I think I did write this actually when my relationship with him ended. You know, usually I start the song somewhere around that time and then I procrastinate on it until years later. And I have, you know, I go back through songs to figure out which ones might go on the record, you know? Um, but also I think, you know, it doesn't necessarily only apply to that. Like I've definitely been on the other side of this too, where like I
Mm.
have been the one who um like I can't tell you why I'm just not available. You know, I can't tell you why I just, you know, for whatever reason. I mean, I think it all goes back to this whole like Harville Hendrix getting the love you want and Mago thing where we're projecting our childhood wounds onto each other and we're going to do this like whether we're in relationships or not. And those things are so unconscious. It's hard to actually put words to what these things are most of the time. And because we're not able to communicate, we just end up sort of exiting partnership, you know, before without telling the other person, you know, for whatever reason. Like either you're going to do it because you're not giving me anything anymore at all. And so I'm going to have to, you're forcing me to leave. Right. But
Mm.
like, I was screaming about it the whole time. I was screaming about it at the top of my lungs in every other way that I could, you know, in every way I could think of besides actually screaming. And you didn't hear it, you know, and sometimes it just, you know, just going back to the thing the mothers say, like my mom was always like, let him feel your absence.
Mm.
You know, like don't don't be the girl who, you know, is gonna be, I mean, the messaging honestly probably didn't help me in the long run because it leads to a lot of sort of like mental manipulation and game playing where you just want to be like who you are, you know, and find someone who likes that and you like
Mhm.
that back at them. And why can't it just be that? Why can't it be that easy? But like I think that that is the thing that is most effective, like a way to communicate to like many of the men or maybe most of the men in my life that I've been in romantic relationships who just like don't hear words because either I didn't say it in a way they could hear it, you know, or but like they definitely hear absence. Like
Mm.
absence is felt. And so I think in this song, this is a very long-winded answer, but I think in
Great
this
answer.
song, yeah, it was like the it's not a choice all the time, you know, like that like I'm not trying to manipulate you in this sense. Like you're just giving me no other choice, right? Like I can't stay here, I'll die. You know?
Okay, so so much. 'Cause one of the things that stood out to me is what you said about like, why can't it just be that easy? And I've been thinking about this a lot as I navigate being single for the first time in 11 years. I've been single since July of last year, and that was basically the first time in almost 11 years that I was single, and the whole world changed in that time. Like everything about dating changed. I've changed dramatically in those 11 years. And then navigating, because I think what happened with my ex when we first got together, it was that easy. It did feel like, oh, here's my person, just like that. And then one day she was like, "Oh yeah, I don't love you anymore." And I was, and in between, I'm sure I was missing all kinds of signals. I'm sure I was missing all kinds of communications. Certainly not. I don't think I don't think I miss words. Like if you say it to me, I'm gonna listen to you and I'm gonna take stock of it. But the other signals that you're talking about and the other signs, those are things that now I've been trying to unpack. And it is, just to be perfectly frank, mystifying to me. Like I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to process it, right? Is like I'm sure there were all these signs and I'm trying to think back to them and notice them and I'm like I wasn't there. Yeah, I just didn't see that the sign that the writing was on the wall and like and she has told me subsequently the writing was on the wall and I'm like, "Really?" Cuz I don't know, like we were still going to dinner together and we get in your routines and you kind of I think that's probably part of what I look back on that I think to go back to the stereotype of men. I think a lot of times if there isn't some huge upheaval, we just are like, well, this is just a relationship, right? Is like, sure, we have our struggles. It's not always going to be perfect, but like my mindset has always been like, well, I'm gonna, I'm still here. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna keep doing the thing. I still make sure that dinner's taken care of every night. I still make sure the dogs are taken care of, and at some point you forget to take stock. I think that's where like a lot of men fall short, and I definitely do that. I got to work on is the taking stock of the relationship, and I think that translates not only to romantic relationships, but that's true of friendships. That's true of working relationships too, right? Collaborative relationships.
Yeah, that's a really good point to think about it in terms of all your relationships. Because I do think we have these ideas of like, you know, it's like that whole like I see blue, you see red, but we both call it blue, like we have these expectations for I have an expectation for what I think my ideal relationship is. And then, someone else is just looking for somebody that they can get comfortable with and it can feel like an old worn shoe. And then that's where they feel safe. Whereas, like, as soon as I start to feel bored or complacent, I don't feel safe.
Mm, mm,
And
mm-hmm.
so it's like then those sort of like needs that you didn't know you had before you get into the situation or the needs become clear when you're not getting them met, you
Oh,
know.
100%. 100%. And I think one of the things that I think I've learned from this whole process, because what happened with me is my relationship ended, and like 2 months later, I fell in love with somebody.
Mm.
And she was everything that my 10-year partnership was not, right? She filled all the needs that weren't getting met, that she was filling them, in spades. And then it didn't work out for the reasons relationships don't work out. And I was not ready either 2 months after a 10-year relationship. Get the fuck out of here. I don't know what I was thinking other than I just fell in love with this woman. But I think the thing I've learned from both of those situations and them ending is whoever gets me next, like I really want to be clear about what I need up front, like what I need from a relationship. And if that's not something that they're comfortable with or they don't feel like they can meet, all good, right? Like, and that's been the process right now is especially at this point in my life, in my mid 40s, like I don't want to fucking play games.
Yeah.
Just like let's just have the conversation up front. And if you can't meet that, that's cool. If we're not in the same place, I'm good. Um, which doesn't sound as romantic as it felt like when I was in my, even 10, 15 years ago, I mean, I remember thinking to myself that with my ex, there were some things that I knew up front she wasn't going to be able to do for me and or to bring to the relationship. Because she communicated them and I was like, it's fine. I love this woman. This is my person. It's all good. Well, that shit over time isn't fine, right? Because you have those certain needs, and if they're not being met, that's going to fester and become a problem.
Yeah, and I can tell you too, like, it's like you don't want to play games. Women in their mid 40s, we don't want to play games either. So like if anything, like I am so annoyed when somebody wastes my time now.
Mm-hmm.
And really the onus is on me, right? To listen to those inner voices that are like, I know this person isn't really ready, or I know this person's on a rebound, or I know this person's just logistically like like the logistics come into play more now, which is like also not romantic, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, like the idea of a long distance relationship, for example. Fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah, like yeah, it's also you're just you're just too tired and practical now. But I like thinking about this other thing too, which is I'm in or there was a time I was in all the 12-step programs. I don't remember which one it was that I heard this in,
Mhm.
but um the the relationships are about what you can give, right? Always. Whether it's your collaborative relationship or your friendships or anything, it's like what can I give? And it always helps me um to try and get into that mindset. Although the pendulum has to, if it goes too far the other way and you're in too much of a codependent enmeshment, like pendulum has to swing back the other way. Like you have to get focused on what is it that I want. But then I always think, well, what is it that I want? And am I willing to be that? Like if I
Mm,
want XYZ, am I willing to give this to this person or like the somehow the give and take equivalent of it? And I feel like, if more of us felt that way in relationships, our relationships would be stronger,
mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like, and am I ready for what I want? Because like I'm actually not really, I don't really have a lot of time right now, to give. Like, am I really going to be able to be present right now for what it is I say that I want? So there's a lot of things that I might ask for that I really don't want, you know.
I think
But
about that a lot. Yeah. I mean, just like right now in my life, I'm pouring myself into my creative work, and there's a few reasons for that. One is it's just so fulfilling and it helps me to process things. But the other is I don't have the like emotional capital to put into a relationship with somebody, a romantic relationship with somebody else right now. And I'm aware of that. And so like there are people in my life who I would be interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with, and I'm not going to waste their time. Right?
yeah,
Cuz I'm not there yet. And I'm not going to waste their time. I've been thinking about that a lot lately because my selfish desire is I want to roll over and have a partner there, right? In the morning. And I want to roll over and touch a booty. But
mhm,
like that wouldn't be fair to somebody right now because I also don't have the ability to like I just don't have it. I don't have the emotional capital right now to be a good partner. And so but what I do have is the need to create, to make things. And so that I feel like I can pour myself fully into. That makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
yeah, it's the same. There's in another one of my weird cults I was in, I learned about like how the second chakra is the creative chakra, the sexual energy, the second chakra, which is where like babies come from,
Hmm.
but is the same as like your creative energy.
Mm.
So I always thought like, you know, do a year of celibacy and see what you make, see what kind
Mm.
of art you make. And I get it. I get that whole like, yeah, hey, who doesn't want their booty touched in the morning?
For
Unless
real.
you're sleeping and you're like, get off me. But like, it's more fun to be selfish. It's definitely more fun to be in a selfish place and to like, yeah, I don't know, have your vices. It's not as much fun to like ascend or evolve past that. And sometimes I'm like, oh God, can we just like, you know, can we just like have fun and stop, being so serious about it? But the truth is that like the art, the need to make it comes from this place. Like these things really aren't going to be ignored long term. Like the things that are annoying to have to deal with, they're just not going to be ignored. Like you're going to have to process it at some point. And like
Hmm.
I've gotten into this place in life where I'm just more comfortable knowing that, I know what hurts. I know why it hurts. I know where the original wound is. And I don't actually need to work it out on this person because I know, like, I know that I have a song coming for that, or
Mm, mm.
I know it comes from, I know the healing is going to come from a different place, really,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
know.
let's dive into that a little bit if we
Okay.
can. So you mentioned the You mentioned like with a song like You're Losing Me, how you might start like at the end of something, you might start to write it and then you return to it years later. I'm interested in that process because I know for me, when I'm in the thick of something, like I can't make shit. Like I'm just in the thick of it. But then later I can write about it, right? But whereas some people are able to write through that and process the hard stuff by writing their way, through it. What does that look like for you?
I love this question because it's not always the same, but I do think that I have discovered a thread.
Hmm.
And it's that at some point I get more interested in the song than about the subject. Like at
Hmm.
some point I'll get to a place where I my ability to write the song will deliver me from my pain of like the working on this song, right? It's like something to do. It's something to do with it, something to do with the pain or the concept or the mind or whatever. Whereas, in the beginning when you're like, when you're a gaping bloody mess, it is hard. You can't just like, oh, I'm gonna write a song now, like there is always something to work through. For me, it's usually like these big kind of, it's like a big tsunami of something very intense that I can't decipher.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like whether that's a block of emotion or like conceptually or, just all the things, the fear, what it means in life about where I am and, what's happened and just the pain of loss. And it always comes in sort of this big like barge, and then somehow the song like sort of parses it all out and gets it into a place where it's not that, like it doesn't hurt. So i do I do start like my songwriting process like kind of right away, but I'm kind of always working on one, like I've always kind of got one on. It's like having a good book, you know
Mm-hmm.
when you read a few pages every night. Like I just let it be that, I don't have a practice where I sit down and make myself do it. If I'm coaching somebody, I might make them do it, But for me, it's like I just let it be sort of organic and as needed. It's like maybe the one thing in my life I don't police, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you say there's always one you're working on, like, is that you have the concept in your head? And I mean, like in practice, what does that look like? If you're not sitting down to do it necessarily, like on a daily basis, like on a functional level or like on a practical level, what does that process look like? Is it just in your head? Or are you jotting things down? Are you grabbing the guitar?
I definitely try to jot things down because if you don't, they go away, you
Yeah.
know? Especially if I've got something really good. So I have a running tab of notes. Lately I've been trying to do, keep the notebook by the bed and write down on paper, even if I never go back to it. There's something about like transferring words from your hand to paper that sort of, they'll be with you. But because I came to songwriting, I had minored in music theory, but I never was able to utilize music theory. Like I've always been very insecure about my relationship to music and my ability to understand music sort of mathematically.
Hmm.
Everything that I've ever done. I mean, I always thought it'd be pretty dangerous if I could figure it out, but my brain doesn't, it's never worked that way. Like I just, I hear, I I hear it some other way.
Hmm.
Um, so my words have always been, for me, it just bothers me when people say lyrics don't matter. I mean, I think all of it matters, but I think if your lyrics aren't good, you're missing something. But for me, I was empowered to be able to write songs in the first place because I had a teacher who taught me to make every word intentional. So that I'm not fitting the words into any kind of a rhythm or like I'm saying exactly what I mean. Like I'm not, you're not going to hear a line that was manufactured just for the rhyme. Like it's going to be as truthful as I could be in the moment. And that I think I spend a lot of time getting to the heart of that.
Mm.
in my head thinking about it. And then I'll usually like when I'm really working on a song, I'll like go for walks and I'll just sing the words out loud in the neighborhood, and just see like what melodies come up. And sometimes the missing words will come that way as you're like walking and like balancing the brain hemispheres. I do a lot of writing while I'm walking. I had my probably my favorite song I've written was called A Day at the Beach, and I did it while I was walking on the beach. I think there's a better, I think if you can go somewhere where there's negative ions, there might be songs there. I can be a
Mm.
little like tinfoil hat about like woo woo about like, oh, the song, like the ocean will bring it to you.
Well, I mean, I can relate to that just because songwriting is magic. Like it's like this, it's wild to me anytime I'm able to write a song and when they come in like waves too, so like, usually when I'm writing, then I can just, in the last year I've written a song a month and I didn't take it seriously, songwriting seriously until like my late 30s. So it's like every single I'm just getting better and better and better and better. I listen to some of those old songs and I'm like, God, I've come a long way. There's one or two of them I'm still really proud of, but I'm like, God, I've come a long way just in, the last few years, but especially the last year when I've been taking it seriously and playing. I've been playing at least once a month out and sometimes twice, hitting open mics and things like that. And that then inspires some more. But there's so much you said that I can connect with. I just wrote an essay and put it on the page on our Patreon about walking and about the how good it is for my creative energy to walk. And I didn't think about it quite the way you were describing it. I like the woo woo that you added there because I think something there's something really special about the energy of walking and how it allows me to. The way I described it is when I'm here in my condo, right? If I have an idea, it's almost like the idea hits the walls and comes back to me. Like it has nowhere to go. Whereas
Yeah.
when I go for a walk, that idea, it feels like the idea is able to sort of get out into nature and get out into the world and the sights and sounds of my neighborhood and other locations that I might sit down and write in. I love going to a bar and writing or a coffee shop and writing to have the energy around me. So the idea oftentimes starts here, but if I don't get it, if I don't let it out, it's like it's caged, if that makes any sense.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I get that too. Like there's just more sonic room, you know. out there. And I haven't thought about that way. Like I do think like the different ideas that are going to come to you because I'm with you on that. I don't know how. I wrote a whole I have a whole 2 week training on how to write songs, that I wrote for these inmates. It's designed for like inmates and DOCs who only have pen and paper.
Uh-huh.
And I I don't know how to write. That's the first thing I say to them. Like I really don't know how to write songs. I just don't. Like every song that I wrote is a total miracle to me. I don't know how I did it or where. It's the one thing I don't feel like I did, you know,
Mm,
do it, like I know I did it, but like I didn't do it. I just sort of helped it. I was just the birth canal or something like that. So I think they do have their own, they have their own thing. And I like getting woo woo about that because you have to. Like, I don't love words like healing per se. Um, I don't like, I mean, healing I just don't like the way that we use healing now. I don't like it when people say, oh, songwriting's my therapy, that kind of thing, because
mm,
it doesn't sound fun. And
mm,
like, my songwriting has absolutely it is my healing modality. It is what I use for healing, but it's the way I trick myself into it. I don't sit down with any intention to heal. Like, and I like the woo-woo thing. I just got this book on how to be a witch. Like I've just decided to be a witch this week. I'm
nice.
starting my witch, but like I'm like, oh, these are just songs are just spells, like my this recipe for this salad with this apple cider vinegar peptide dressing, that's just a spell. It's just a way I'm going to get myself to like do my prayers or do my homework or do my yoga, just make a spell out of it. And I kind of think that um Well, I don't know how that relates to songs, actually. Your spells were witchy, you know. It's just a way to, I think you just have to make life fun because it's hard. Life is hard.
I've been thinking about that a lot too, just because like it's been, I mean, the last year and a half, really the last 3 years of my life, I've been a motherfucker. It just feels
Mhm.
like there's like one thing after the other after the other. And generally speaking, I've lived a very charmed life. I've been very fortunate. But the last 3 years, it's like, and because my life has been so charmed, I wasn't as equipped for the level of hardship that I've endured in the last 3 years. Um, I just didn't have to deal with a lot, in my life. Like I've had challenges like anybody else, but most of those are self-inflicted wounds. And these last few years are not self-inflicted for the most part. It's just life being life and just being difficult. And of course, globally, we're dealing with so much on top of the individual challenges that we all might face. Um, and I have been accused fairly of taking life too seriously. And I've really been working on letting the fuck go and just having fun and not beating myself up and like not over analyzing every interaction I have with people and making bold choices and living with them. And accepting like there are going to be consequences as a result of this bold choice, but it's the right thing for me. It's the right thing for my life. And it makes everything so much better to not take it all so seriously. I mean, I'm wired how I'm wired, right? I'm going to take shit seriously, but at the same time letting go. I love how you said that. Like songwriting and creating should be fun. I because I do think it is therapeutic, but I like how you frame that. It's supposed to be fun. Making stuff is supposed to be fun. Even if you're writing a heavy song, it's still like it's music. It's magic. It's beautiful.
Yeah, like there's that whole thing like everything's 5% funny, you know. I mean, sometimes the heavy part of songwriting is fun, you know, like I like to geek out on things and I have a pretty dramatic flair, but it's better than being depressed, you know,
Hmm.
and stuck. And I think that's the thing about it that is the most magical is like how it can really move a thing, you know. And I don't know, it's like why songwriting? Why songwriting for me? I didn't know it was going to be songwriting for me.
Mm.
You know, as a kid, I thought I was going to be an actress and save my whole family by getting famous so that people would have to give us opportunities and I wouldn't have to work for them or earn love or be worthy of it, you know, it'd just be
Yeah.
like, yeah, you would have to because I'd be their boss, you know.
When did you start writing songs?
I was telling, Lucinda Williams became my friend this year. It's funny.
Whoa, cool.
I was telling her that I the first song I wrote was so bad. It was I remember I was in second grade. I don't know why I know it was second grade, but I remember it was like, and I was like, I'm gonna write a song today. And I was walking around my room and I was just like coming up with a song and singing it in my mind. And I was 20 minutes in and I was like, this is so bad. I am so bad at this. I'm so glad I know that this is bad, that I can't do this and I should never do this again. I'm never doing this again. And then Lucinda sang me the first song that she ever wrote, and it's like this amazing song. She like still remembers it. I can't remember how it goes, but you know, I just think like,
Lucinda was like 6 years old and like tapping into like the
yeah,
heavy recesses of a middle-aged woman's soul.
but still in like a very cute, child. For
Yeah.
some people, it's for some people, I think, she is actually a pretty clear divine channel. Like Lucinda doesn't have a whole lot of, that's why her songs are so because You're Losing Me is one of the songs on the record that is the most like this, where it's like, I'm just going to tell you how you hurt me, and I'm not going to make any excuses for my pain or try to turn it into anything else or make a joke out of it. I'm just gonna, she is the best at that because she doesn't have um any ego around it. Like did you only love me for those 3 days? Like, I mean, I I love Lucinda, so I will close into lyrics to you all day. But I
Yeah.
think that, you know, maybe it was very clear to her that, she was born to do this from a young a young age or something. I don't think like, I mean, I'm not even sure I've totally found it, the thing I'm supposed to do on the
Mm,
yet, you know, like I've reinvent myself so many times, but I can say that the songwriting is the thing that I have like the least amount of resistance to. You know, like
mm,
it's become the thing that I don't need anybody else's permission to do it. I'm just gonna do it, you know. But I also think it's a pretty weird thing. Like, what is it? You know, like what are we even doing? Like I think that way about it too. I'm like, this is such a weird like vice to have, you know.
well, it's wild. Like I've been trying to. I've been thinking about with my own music. Like I said, I've only been taking it seriously for I don't know 6 or 7 years now, but and then really, really seriously in the last year to the point where like I created a Jason Earle music page on Instagram, and I want to make a record and like things that no way when I first picked up a guitar did I think I was gonna do. And I think I've mostly processed. I mean, imposter syndrome is always going to be there to some extent, but I think I've mostly processed like, okay, this is where I'm at in my songwriting journey. People do connect with my songs. I'm not the best singer, but I can sing. I know that I can write. Like that is a skill that I know I have, and accepting it for what it is has been a revelation for me and has opened up so many other channels, right? Just accepting like here's where I am in my journey, and that's pretty cool. And it allows me to like that whole that the point you're making about like what the fuck is it? Like what is this thing? Um for me processing what is this thing has been just sort of accepting like okay, I'm not on the same at the same stop in my journey as my buddy Patrick Hagerman is, right? Like I'm just not there yet. And I may never get to him because he's been doing it for so long. I'm unlikely going to be a guitar player even half as good as he is. I'm probably not going to get to where he's at from a writing standpoint. And that's okay. That's okay, right? Because the thing is just the thing that and I have to do it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what it is, right? Because I just know I have to do it.
I love that you say that because I am in a really healthy place with this right now. But it was hard earned because when I first started writing songs, I was in New York and had been pursuing acting, which I had been pursuing like kind of my whole life, you know, like as a kid, I had like, you know, was used as an actor in these, I just, you know, I had gone to school for, I was very much like, you know, very focused on that. And then I went through like, I guess a kind of identity crisis and I couldn't get myself to do it and I didn't have any confidence and I was in New York and I was like hiding under the bed. And I had started writing songs that way and I was very bad at it. Like I said, you know, back when I
Mm.
was in second grade, like it was just I had so much energy around I'm supposed to be really, really good at something right now. I am an expert in this thing. I'm supposed to be at this expert level execution part of my life, self-actualization. Yet I am going to be a total beginner and it was hard for me to let myself be a beginner. So when I go back and listen to my songs from that time, they actually sound like you can hear it. Like you can hear like, oh, this is kind of pretentious, you know? But at the same time, you can also hear the parts of it that are the brilliance coming through, right? Because we're not just all one thing and there is and it can be a both and. It can be a both and. Like it could be pretentious and it could also be brilliant. And now, okay, so that was when I started doing that, like somewhere 15, 20 years ago, somewhere. I feel like I want to say 20 for the cred, but actually it's closer to 15, which is better for uh my perceptible longevity. I don't know, but or my attractiveness. But um like now this last year I started doing comedy and like when I can, you know, when I can, I try to dabble into it. But when I put out the Beggar EP last year and I went to Austin. It was lonely. Putting out the EP, it was really lonely. I just needed to get out of Nashville. I was just so sick of having my own head up my own ass. Like putting out work, making work is amazing and then releasing work is really it I you just it's not for pussies. I'll just put it that way. But I went to I went to Austin and did stand-up comedy for 3 weeks where I went into the open mics every night and did like told dick jokes to like rooms full of men. And
Hmm.
it was so brutal. And I bombed so hard every night and it made music seem like such a cakewalk. But
Mm.
I was like, oh, I'm just bad at it. I'm just
Uh,
bad at it right now. Like, this is just the part where I'm bad at it. And isn't that so awesome that now I can just let myself be bad at it because I know how special and how important this time is. And I probably won't be bad at it as long if I can just let myself be bad at it. Like it's a really special, I mean, it could expedite. I just think you can't unbecome things. And the more you learn, the more you learn. And I don't think that it's like not transferable to another thing. It's all life. Like my producer, Misa, he like he's like one of those indigo children, I think, those prodigy
mm,
children.
mm,
He didn't finish high school, he didn't, but he has his whole own way of doing life that most people would find really unacceptable. But he'll just be like, just you can do it. Just pick it up. I'm like, Misa, I can't just play the piano. Like I don't know how, like I can't just pick up a banjo and play it. And he'll just be like, no, you can. Just take everything you know about life and put it into this one moment right now. You can do it. And I can't do that, but he can.
mm.
But I think that that's, like, yeah, take everything you know about life and put it into this one moment right now. We're probably a lot stronger than we think we are and a lot more capable than we
Oh,
think.
for sure. And I think, his philosophy, I think there are some transferable lessons there. Just, I, you can't, I'm not a, I pretty much play by most of society's rules. It's just sort of how I was raised and kind of, I'll rebel if a rule doesn't make sense. But for the most part, I'm not like a huge rebel in most regards. And except that as I'm getting older and and I have more, I mean, it feels weird to say I have more wisdom, but that feels self-indulgent, but it's just true, right? The more experiences you have, the more, first of all, the more you figure out that like you don't have anything figured out, but also that you have some perspective on things that is useful as you approach situations. And like I just quit my job right in the middle of the school year because I was getting treated really poorly. And that was a very difficult decision to make, and one that 10 years ago I wouldn't have done. I would have stuck it out and finished the year and then moved on. But in this situation, it was my physical health was in danger and it wasn't being addressed. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I need to take charge and not just follow what other people expect from me. And what I found when I told everybody that matters to me in my life, to a person, they were proud of me and they
Yeah.
supported it. Whereas in the back of my mind, I was worried that like there's a part of me that was like, if I do this, everyone's going to go, you're crazy. You should have finished the year. You should have made sure you had something lined up before you did it. That's not how you do things. And that's not how people reacted. They actually reacted in a way that was incredibly edifying for me. And it shifted my perspective on things quite a bit in terms of not beating myself up about meeting these sort of structural expectations that society puts on us and just going, okay, I'm gonna lean into my podcasting. I'm gonna lean into my writing. I'm gonna go out and perform more. And I love it that a couple of things that you said recently in this conversation that I really, really love. One is that idea of sort of reinventing yourself. And because that can be kind of scary because you have all these things ingrained in you. Like, this is my identity. This is, my identity has been as a public school teacher. A huge part of my identity is tied up in that. And I'm just not that right now. And so that needs to be filled with something else, but I can fill it with whatever I want to. And that's kind of exciting, right? And then the second thing, like, and I wanted to talk about comedy because I did watch your performance on Kill Tony, which
Pretty great.
I thought was fantastic, by the way. And I especially when you burn that guy, you were like, you look like the guy from The Whale when he was making a comment about your knees. I thought that was fucking great and so quick. Um, But I thought the set was wonderful,
I
and
was
like,
so failing that roast. Like I don't know how to roast, you know.
yeah, yeah,
I would do that whole interview differently now, but like that was a good burn. I did get one good burn in
that
there,
was
yeah.
good. Yeah. So let's talk about that decision to pursue comedy and like, I'm a fan of comedy. We have a really cool scene here in Orlando, actually. And national acts will come through at the bar like two doors down from where I'm sitting right now. And I think a lot of folks don't realize how robust the comedy scene is here. And a lot of my friends here in town are comedians. Um, as someone who performs songs that he wrote and finds that, incredibly an incredibly vulnerable thing to do, and I've gotten more comfortable with it, but it's still every single time there's that little bit of apprehension. Getting up in a room full of people you don't know with just a microphone and expecting to make them laugh is mind-boggling to me. Like the ability to make a room full of strangers laugh. Uh, I was talking to my buddy Ross Paget, who's a comedian here, about that very thing because he's doing some sketches at the local Fringe festival, and he was running through the sketches with me and telling me, and it's going to be great. And but of course he's like anxious about it, right? Because it's a thing he's made, and it's 10 sketches, and they've rehearsed, they've written this thing, and he's still concerned about like hope he doesn't mind me saying all this about how is the audience going to react to, like, there's a Jesus joke in there, right? There's a whole Jesus sketch. And he's like, which appropriate given that we're having this conversation and you have a song literally called Jesus is My Lover,
Right.
on this new record.
Yeah.
um, but I was just thinking, as he was talking about it, I was just processing, like, at some point you develop enough of an audience where like people are there to see you, and so you kind of get used to what they want to hear from you to some extent. Whereas when you're starting out, you don't fucking know. So like maybe you do bomb, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're bad at it, I think, right? I mean, maybe you are in that early stage, but at the same time, not knowing your audience, that's a different thing. You don't have a guitar to hide behind, right? You don't have the melody to hide behind. I mean, it's really interesting. So I'm interested in like what that's felt like for you as you've gotten into it.
Well, it's so funny because people always say, like, when you're like, okay, that's insane. That's an insane thing to get up on stage and be like, I'm gonna make these people laugh. I think most comedians would probably be like, well, that can't be your intention. But of course, that's what we're all gauging whether we're doing well on. So I think it's really this was has been insightful because I think that's just the thing. Like it's knowing who you are. And I
Mm,
don't necessarily know who I am as a comic. Like I'm not, I still think like I know, and if I'm going to get up and do a set of comedy, I know that if I lean into sort of Jennifer Coolidge level tone deaf, sort of like a spacey Zoe Deschanel character, like that was kind of like the character I had made for myself, hide behind a character instead of a guitar,
mm,
that I'll have like a clear um it'll work, right? But it might not be as good as if I found the truthfulness in it, right? That like I do in like it's just like those early songs, right? It's like getting yourself to do it in like kind of the only way you know how, because I think it takes time as a comedian to figure out who you are, like your point of view, and to be so committed to that point of view. Like I have this one joke, which is, well, I tried this for a while where I told this joke about Misa being the only Mexican in the band. Like I think I called it like the band is white. I said, the band is white sexual chocolate with a spice, with a spicy, something.
mhm.
I had this joke like before we played Jesus is My Lover, is Black Jesus better hung? That was not landing very well. I mean, because people didn't know what hung I was referring to. And then once the third option of that came to my attention, I was like, oh yeah, like I don't know if I can. I don't know. Can I?
Oh
I don't
yeah, I wouldn't have.
like.
That's a great
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
sure. I don't actually think I can. And then I had this other joke, which was, oh, I like my. They all kind of went together in some order, but I like my men like I like my chocolate white, you know? And like I
That's
couldn't
funny.
say it. Yeah, like but I couldn't say it in a way that I was like, "Oh, people are going to think I'm racist," like
Mhm.
or being and you can't be worried about that,
Mm-mm.
right? Like you cannot be worried about that. So it's like finding your voice as a comic like, well, where am I or why do I think that this is, what like where why am I pseudo sort of ashamed for this? Like, where is that in me that because it brings up sort of that like block, that tsunami of like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, but I don't know why. Like, what am
Mhm.
I actually on the edge of? Like, am I, am I not comfortable with this? Do I not like what I'm portraying? Do I not, because I just think that joke's really funny too, but ultimately, I just think it says, you know, well, what does it say? I mean, like I haven't been with that many black guys. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah, but like
yeah.
that's a personal, that's a like a human thing. So I mean, I'm
We're
a big
not
believer
talking
in,
about that much.
huh?
It's another thing, like it's sort of uncharted. Like we're not talking about that
Mhm.
that much in terms of um I mean, it's just one of those it's exciting because it's one of those unexplored areas, at least for me. But just to answer your other question really quick, because I don't want to cut you off, I wanted to know what you were saying. It's like with when I get up on stage and I'm playing guitar and people at my shows are always like, "Oh, Caitlin, you're so funny. You should be a comedian." I think that it is because I don't have any intention of making anybody laugh. Like
Mm.
I'm just going to get up there and I know I'm going to be weird, but I'm more doing it for me. Like I'm more doing it to make life fun. I'm more doing it to trick myself out of my anxiety. Like I would get up there and I won't know what I'm going to say, but I know everyone now who's coming to my show knows that I don't have a filter. Whatever's coming out of my mouth is going to be offensive at some point, but it's also going to be really hilarious. And that is kind of like what there's a little bit of a brand around that. But if you try to like pick that up and take it, it almost like it only works in sensitive singer-songwriter audiences. Like if I pick that up and try to put that in front of a Kill Tony audience, they're gonna be like, "What is this child's play?"
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a different thing. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I wanted to make the point that like with the white chocolate joke, which I think is a good joke, like the my thing on comedy and what's off limits and what's not is always comedy is sacred. You can
Yeah.
say whatever you need to say, and that's different from an op-ed in the newspaper, right? Or a conversation, a casual conversation I'm having with the friend. Comedy is sacred. It's our space to be able to say what we need to say, even if it's offensive or it might be racist or sexist or but only if it's funny. Like
Yeah.
there's a guy who like I said, we got this great comedy scene Thursday nights and Saturday nights at Barley and Vine Orlando, right down the street. Folks, if you're ever in town, it's worth a trip from Disney if you're get away from your kids for the day or whatever, the night or whatever. It's great. Like really, it's high quality show every Thursday and every Saturday. And the last time I went, there was a guy who was very Trumpy and he was doing all these racist jokes, and they just weren't funny. Like he just wasn't, he was just being racist. And there's a huge difference, right? Is like if you're gonna say something that might be perceived as racist, like I don't think that joke is racist, your white chocolate joke. I think it's just an observation about your life and it's funny and you know, it's a good punchline and it's unexpected. It's a good joke and it's not maybe it offends somebody, but if it does, it doesn't fucking matter because it's funny.
Yeah.
So it's like I think there's the line is like if you're gonna cross lines and you're gonna cross barriers, if you're just coming at it like the guy that I'm talking about is coming at it from a place of just pure hate. He's just a dick. And that's
Yeah.
not funny, right? Just being a dick isn't funny. But if you're able to make observations that might be offensive but that are funny, that's to me where the line is, and that is tough though. Like finding that line, right, is very difficult, and I can hear like you're wrestling with it, right, and like that's a different thing.
I mean, I think
Trying to find that line is tough.
yeah, it's like finding that really clear voice and real clear point of view. Like I've been told, from a branding standpoint, I am problematic because I
Mm.
do have songs like Jesus is My Lover and I made these candles. Have you seen
No,
my
I have seen your candles. Do you have one there? Yeah, I've seen your videos on
my
Instagram. It's
own?
great.
I have it. I have it on my own altar. But I photoshopped Jason Momoa's head onto like an even better body than he had before, which is so offensive. Like I like to just I think I'm gonna cover Hank Jr. at the release show. I think I'm gonna cover I like to have women I never had, only I like to have men that I never had. Like I just like doing that. I like being a misogynist character the other
Well,
way.
yeah,
You know?
talking about I was thinking about that with Love Addict, and like that kicks off the record in such a like kicks the door in, right? On the record, and that's as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to talk to her." Because it's a great song, and I love the choice to put it up front too. I absolutely love that it's the title track and it's the first song. Um and I could see what you're saying, like from a branding standpoint. Now I'm your demographic though, right? Like that dialed in for me. Like give me more songs like that because it made me think about just how we talk about sex now in the world. And because again, being a single guy for the first time in 11 years, the landscape changed a lot. The conversations we have around sex are very different now than they were 11, 12 years ago. The candor that most of us who are thoughtful with our words, I feel like I was way more candid talking about sex 10 or 11 years ago. And now I watch everything that I say. Which is probably good. I probably should have been watching what I was saying more 11 years ago. But I think the pendulum swung for me and the circles I run in quite a bit to the other end. And I've been trying to find outlets for that. Like I have a good friend, I won't say the name, but I have like a really dear friend, who a guy who um we've been spending a lot of time together, and we will talk about sex openly and candidly and honestly, not in like a conquest way, but like in a here's how I'm feeling about this situation, that situation. And it can get a little broy sometimes, but I kind of need that, right? I kind of need to be able to have an outlet for that. And I love how you approach it with in that particular song, and how just upfront you are about it, right? And I mean, just can't say enough about that particular your song. And I'm interested in that choice, and like how much you clearly have thought about this, and like how and the decision to both put that as the title track and also put it up front.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, for me, that song is, I guess it's sort of like if you want to take the whole amalgamation of everything on the record, like the record's pretty vibey. It's not like full of rockers. But the record's definitely got like some, it has a groove. And I think Love Addict is kind of like if you were gonna have to take the amalgamation of the whole record, like we might find all of it in that. It's just a good, but and it's also just a good place of like where my songwriting is right now. Like I'm
Mm.
still good doing the same thing I'm always doing. I'm blowing it off, but I'm gonna put a joke in there for you, and you're gonna be the punchline. But you're gonna get to be in on it,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be educational. But like, I mean, I think that that's that what you're talking about. Like I need a place to be able to blow off that steam. Like we need to be able to come out of our cages. And Kill Tony is like a pretty male, pro bro misogynistic environment. I wouldn't normally be there. All of my friends are like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" But I'm
Yeah.
like, I can say whatever I want here. Like they can't kick me out, like
Yeah.
I'm a fan, but, and I think that, in music, I mean, it's tricky, especially in country music too, with the censorship and just like, just all the FCC rules and so many people asking for a radio edit and me just being like, nah, because it would be smart for me to do that on a career. I'm not like a well-known artist, like it would be very smart if radio's asking me for a radio edit for me to give them a radio edit. But like, I don't want to say love me shoes, you know?
Yeah.
Like it kind of
Yeah.
goes against my whole thing. I stand, so, whatever, just move on. But I think that,
Yeah, that changes the whole fucking thing. You can't, yeah. I mean, that
yeah, like that's
fuck
so
me
gay.
shoes is like a yeah, I mean that's a statement and it's very evocative, right? Like love me shoes
That's what
ain't
they are. That is what they are. You
yeah,
literally don't, there's no substitute for what that is.
right.
And like, unless I'm gonna say like, a goldfish filled stiletto isn't
Like
gonna,
what are love me shoes like New Balances? Like what I don't
they're good for your soul.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that answered your question, didn't it?
It did, yeah. This has been amazing, Caitlin, and I really appreciate it. What we usually end though on what you're getting down on, so that's the art that has you fired up at the moment. Could be some comedy that you've been digging. Could be a album. I don't know, painting you saw, a book you've been reading.
Man. Oh, like what am I consuming?
Yeah. What do you like? What's got your attention right now?
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. What are these books over here that I have right now? Um, well, um, I'm going to see Paul Simon.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going to see Bill Murray at the Ryman.
The musician
Um,
or the comedian
he's
actor.
going to be the musician and the comedian. I guess he has a band. I
Okay.
think we'll find out. I don't know. Probably just Bill Murray getting up there doing.
Well, because there's a. Do you know who I'm talking about? The musician Bill Murray doesn't spell it like Bill Murray. Not the icon is who you're talking about.
Better make sure I'm not going to see that Bill Murray.
Because
The other Bill Murray.
there's a whole nother thing. They spell it like Billmuri, something like that.
Okay. Shut up.
It's not
Uh,
for me. I like my buddy's really into him. It's not for me, but I don't
huh. I'm probably not going to be into it if you're not into it because you're into me. So,
know.
I like a couple other records that Misa worked on are also coming out, which is just amazing. Like
Hmm.
Christine Murray's new record is
Oh,
great.
she's been on the show. I love her.
Yeah. Okay. So he produced that too.
Yeah,
Kimberly
she was
Allen.
on the show her last record years ago. I need to reach back out to her. She's great. We
Yeah.
had a great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So and she's going to release her pretty much, they just opened Skinny Dennis in Nashville. And so her release will be there on the 9th. And we have pretty much all the same band. And they're going to play, they're like half of them are on tour with Miranda Lambert. And they're going to come back, play her show on the 9th, rehearse with me on the 10th, play with me on the 10th at the basement.
Oh, cool.
It's hard to get, I kind of wish I knew what was going on more in the pop culture. Like outside of Lola Young, I'm not really sure what I'm missing right now because when you are doing this, you really do have to remember to continue to consume.
Oh, I was just having this conversation last night about what the algorithm shows me. Now, because I mean, a lot of the music I listen to is pitches or either pitches from publicists or I'm interested in an artist, so I'm reaching out and booking them and independent of their publicist. And then it was kind of both with you, where like I work with your publicist quite a bit, and then I got your record, and then she sent me the pitch, and I was like, oh wait, I've been meaning to reach out to you because I wanted to get her on the show. It was really cool how it all came together. Um, but as far as like what's going on in popular culture, especially as it relates to the internet, um, I wasn't actually at the comedy show last night, but I was at the bar watching the NFL draft outside, and the comedians were all coming out, and then we just were having conversations, and they were talking about some shit that's like blowing up on the internet, various things that I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I have apparently people will film themselves eating, and this is really big. Millions and millions of views. Just it's just that a person eating, and I have no. Did you have any idea this was a thing? I had no idea this was a thing.
I can't, I would not, I have misophonia. I can't watch that.
Mm,
That must be like a
mhm.
fetish thing.
Yeah, but apparently it's like a big fetish thing, and there's all kinds of. I forget what else they were talking about, but I think they were talking about some artist that I was like, I have no fucking idea who you're talking about, and they're huge. So it is interesting. Like you do have to make the effort. Like I really like hip hop music, and I couldn't tell you other than Kendrick Lamar, who's
Yeah.
making hip hop music of any quality at the moment. The other day I just like, intentionally was like title. I'm putting in Kendrick Lamar, and now I need you to give me other artists, and it was just like Kendrick over and over and over again, and then like Wu Tang Clan. I'm like, I know these. I already know these.
And like a bunch of videos of people eating you gotta get through. Oh, I'm glad you said that because like I love Jason Isbell and I have been it's been so long like I didn't listen to Weather Vanes until like probably a couple months after it had come out and I was just like God, this world is so stupid. But I did listen to Fleet Foxes and it is incredible. That
You
record is amazing.
talking about
So
Foxes in the Snow, or are you talking about a new
oh
Fleet
fuck.
Foxes record?
I keep saying Fleet Foxes. I said Fleet Foxes like 10
Fleet
times.
Foxes is cool too.
Well, but that's not that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
fuck. No, thank you. And wow, I hope like that's not there's gonna be a soundbite of that one day, but but I got
But
to see twice at the Pinnacle playing that show and just playing songs. A lot of them were off the new record, but just him and a guitar, and it was like,
which nights were you there?
were you there?
Yeah, I was there Thursday.
Or I don't think I went on a Thursday. I was
Ah,
there the first weekend on a Saturday.
I drove
But
up. I drove up for one night to see that
what did you? It was amazing.
from Orlando. I'm trying to decide if it's the best show I've ever seen. It's either that or I saw Bob Dylan here in town last May, and that was a spiritual, or last March, and it was a spiritual experience. Um, but I think Isbell at the Pinnacle was maybe the best show I've ever seen, and I go to shows all the time.
Yeah.
Did he play Strawberry Woman?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear? And I've been trying to find anybody who can explain this to me. He like was approximating the harmonica part on the guitar. Did you pick up on that? And do you have any idea how the fuck somebody does that? It sounded like the faint harmonica part in Strawberry Woman, and he was just doing it. You saw it. There was just a guitar there. I
Yeah.
don't fucking know how he was doing. I was mesmerized, and I was with my friend Ashley who plays guitar, and we were just. I was like, "Is he playing that?" She's like, "Yes." I don't fucking know how he's doing it. It was amazing, mind blowing.
Yeah, no, I didn't pick up on that. But I will definitely maybe I'll go try to watch a video and see what it is you're talking about.
Yeah, it was that show. I mean, just tears and like locked in, and it was over like that, and it was like 2 hours, but it felt like I had just sat down, and then all of a sudden, he brought out Dave Rawlings for the
Yeah.
encore. I don't know
Yeah.
if he did that the other shows, but
Did. I think he was there at all the shows.
yeah, that was incredible too.
When I was out, he was like, normally I don't do this because it's like so hot. It's just like too much of a hassle. Like all the people you got to go through to get that to
Yeah,
happen. Did you do that at your show? I
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. You mentioned that, yeah.
told that they like that they, you know, that was just that was such an old Nashville thing. Like they're figuring out as they're up there doing it, just both like it was such a it really, there's this whole old Nashville style of I hate saying old Nashville because that makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I don't. But what I know about people or how what I know about people who have been in Nashville for a long time who do things in this Nashville quote unquote way, there really is not a lot of figure it out.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of like it's like we're gonna show up and what happens is happens and that's how we make art and like if we were late it's because it was God's will and it's just like this ease it really it's not like that anymore. It's not in New York you're on a schedule
Hmm.
you know In Colorado, you're that way because you're high. It's like there's something really special about this and that you can't, that it's just kind of those guys who do that. Maybe it's like a certain echelon of artistry too.
Yeah, I mean those two are, two of the best to do it. In that particular case, I saw Isbell with the 400 unit in St. Augustine a couple of weeks later, like 3 weeks later, they came through, and he played a bunch of the Foxes songs with the full band.
How they sound.
So good, like completely different songs. I
Yeah.
mean, so to have seen him at the Pinnacle with just a guitar, and of course, I've devoured the record. I have 3 copies of it. I have 2 vinyl copies and a CD copy. And quick plug for folks listening and for you, if you're interested, my other podcast, Life's Greatest Hits, with my buddy Jordan Foley. When the record came out, the day it came out, we sat here in my condo and listened to it one time through, and then we immediately set up the mics and talked about our impressions of Foxes in the Snow right after. So Life's Greatest Hits, that's the most recent episode of the Life's Greatest Hits podcast. And we're both mega fans, so like it was a lot of fun, and people have been connecting with that episode.
Oh,
um,
cool. Oh,
but
good.
yeah, I've just lived in that record. I mean, since it was released, it's crazy. It's really not that old, but I feel like I've known that record forever now.
I know. I know. I know. It's like I don't know. I'm like, did he beat Southeastern? I don't know.
I think he did, but I think Weather Vanes is better than Southeastern, and like, but I just think he keeps getting better. I think he's the greatest songwriter of all time, and I always joke that I'll stand on Bob Dylan's coffee table in my flip flops and say so, to borrow from Steve Earle. I just think he's on a different level than everybody else. But I think Fox's is, I mean, Fox's and Weather. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to argue it. Sure, Southeastern's the best. Sure, Reunions is the best. Sure, Weather Vanes is the best. Fox's, I don't care. But I think like Foxes doesn't have a miss and Weather Vanes doesn't have a miss. My
Yeah.
argument has always been that every other song or every other record, there he doesn't have he's never missed, but every other record has a song that doesn't to me doesn't make sense on the record. Anxiety doesn't fit on Nashville Sound. Super 8 doesn't fit on Southeastern. Um, the unpopular opinion, but 24 frames doesn't fit on There's Something More Than or Something More Than Free. Um, Reunions doesn't have any of those. Weather Vanes doesn't have any of those. Foxes doesn't have any of those. Every single song feels like it's supposed to be there. Every single song seems like it was created in, some sort of magical land. That's my, I could go on and on, but that's
I
my Isbell
totally
take.
agree with that. Like it's interesting how it's I miss being a I miss getting to sort of be a fan to the point where, you know, like when you're a true fan of something, you can really be a snob about it.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. Is
that-
it you can't be a fan anymore because Lucinda's your buddy? Not when you become friends with somebody like Lucinda Williams, it's tough to be just a fan now.
I think that what happens is that like I'm like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I have no like who am I to weigh in on this? My opinion about this person's art. Like now that I make my own,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like and that they have I just don't know. I don't know if my opinions don't matter anymore, but I don't think it's because like my opinions don't matter. I just think it's because like I know um how personal the relationship is to your art and what you're making and how sometimes it just doesn't have anything to do with you anyway and it's just like yeah whatever came through you and that's the snapshot of that in that time and it's not like I don't know I've just stopped sort of I still have my preferences like it's still like aversion and attraction but I've stopped being as judgmental you know
Mm-hmm.
like I used to be, which was fun.
There's
It was
something fun about it,
fun.
yeah. I'm
Just
not particularly judgmental. Like I'm not comfortable being a critic, for example. I mean, I write about music a lot and I do this, a lot, especially now that I don't have Now that I'm fun employed, I do this like every day because I got to do something and I like doing this. But I'm not comfortable being a critic at all. Like even when I said that about those Isabel records, I think Super 8's a very good song. I think 24 Frames is a brilliant song. I'm just like being nitpicky
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm such a mega fan, you know. But I am not comfortable being a critic, especially for similar reasons to what you mentioned. Just like I know how hard it is to write one song. And I know how hard it is to then get up and perform those songs. And I don't know how hard it is to make a record, but I talk to people who make records all the time, and it's very clearly a fuck ton of work and money and time and energy. And it's hard to be critical when you know how much somebody has put into an album like Love Addict, and like to put yourself out there like that, and now to do all the promotion and then play the shows and the whole bit. It's a lot. And so I'm definitely not a very good critic because I respect the work so much.
Well, hey, I so appreciate that, and good luck with your record because I know you're gonna get there.
I'll
In
get
fact,
there.
this is really cool way to, like this is a really cool way to begin a music business for yourself or begin a, what do you say, like an artist, like, like I wish I had done that. I wish I had interviewed everyone's music I liked,
Yeah.
like,
I've had my heroes on, and then like I continue to. Last year I had John Moreland on. Well, Caitlin, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your wonderful record, Love Addict. Thank you for, connecting. I'm really excited for folks to hear it. May 9th it comes out. By the time this comes out, it will probably have been released, and I'll be sure to make sure I'm spreading the word on socials and everything for folks to listen. But thank you so much for your time and energy. This was awesome.
thank you too, Jason. It was great to talk to you. I look forward to talking to you more.
Awesome. Sounds great. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks.
See ya. Caitlin Cannon, y'all. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Thank all of you for listening. CaitlinCannonMusic.com for all things Caitlin. MarinadePodcast.com for all things The Marinade. Follow us on all the socials, y'all. Subscribe and give a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support The Marinade. Go do that right now while you're listening, please. It makes a huge difference for us and costs so little of your time and energy. Also, please follow Life's Greatest Hits on Instagram so you can get updates about my show with my dear friend Jordan Foley. We have a brand new episode. It's only a few days old, featuring Medium Raw by Earle James. The feedback has been fantastic, y'all. We're 9 episodes deep and have recently made a slight shift in format. Instead of a vinyl swap like we had been doing, we now listen to a record together. He chose Medium Raw. I'm actually choosing Allison Russell's Outside Child for the next episode that we're going to record today as I'm recording this now. And the idea for the shift was born out of the experience of just sitting down and listening to a record together. And that was Jason Isbell's Foxes in the Snow. And we did that the day that it was released. We had a blast making that one. The feedback has been so positive about this show and our shift in format. So thank you. Subscribe on your podcast app so you don't miss a thing, y'all. Make sure that you're following, like I said, on Instagram. We are pretty active over there. You can send us a message too if you have an album that you think we should dig into. Let us know. Give us some feedback. You can also email Life's Greatest Hits podcast at gmail.com or marinadepodcast at gmail.com for any kind of feedback you want to give us or thoughts that you have about this work that we're doing. If you really enjoy this Marinade thing, please consider joining our Patreon community. Y'all, for just $2 a month, you can gain access to Patreon exclusive content like our show Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that shape my creative life and provide a window into the process of making the Marinade. I recently quit my day job, and I've been spending a lot of time over on Patreon, writing essays, producing bonus content. So you're going to get your money's worth. And it's only $2. You can give us more if you got it, but $2 a month, y'all. If you have been curious about Patreon, now would be a good time to dip a toe in over there. You can try a free trial of Patreon for 7 days. And if you like it, stay. If you don't, That's cool too. Maybe you don't want to make a commitment. I understand that as well. You can Venmo or PayPal us just at the Marinade, and all the money goes right back into the creative work. So thank you if you can swing it, and thank you to all of our Patreon patrons. We have such a cool community over there. But if not, hey, we're just grateful that you listen and spread the word about the Marinade. Y'all, I'm about to leave at the end of this week. I'm going to leave Orlando and go on my second annual Grounded Summer Tour. So if you've been with us for the last year at least, you know that I took a trip up to Kentucky, where I'm originally from, last year, and I covered a couple of festivals, including Bonnaroo. It was just an amazing experience, y'all. I was going through a major life transition and decided to, get out of town and get back to my roots. Well, going through another life transition seems to be the season of transition for me. And, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to Kentucky. We just got approved to cover Bonnaroo for the third straight year. So if you're going to be on the farm, come say hi. Stay tuned for updates, y'all. I'll be doing my Jason's Journals each day of the festival. I'm going to be there the whole weekend, it looks like, Thursday through Sunday, and then slowly start to make my way back toward Florida. But if I'm in your path at all in the South, I'm going to hit pretty much every state in the Southeast, it looks like. Might not hit Louisiana, but actually, now that I'm talking about it, I haven't been to New Orleans in forever, so I might just do that too. And so if you aren't in my immediate path, I'm open. I got a couple months till I start my new job. I accepted a new day job. Very excited about it. I'm going to be teaching 7th grade civics, which is my favorite thing to teach. And that doesn't start till the end of July. So I basically have 2 months to write and podcast and travel and just, get grounded again. So get grounded with me on my Grounded Summer Tour. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed on your podcast app so you don't miss a thing. And until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.